Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football, taking a look at a Jacksonville Jaguars 7-round NFL mock draft. This is going to be a very, very fun team in the offseason, especially in the NFL draft. You take a look at the roster, so many young guys on contract for a while, and like the Jaguars have a privilege that a lot of NFL teams don't have. They know their quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is their franchise dude, and now it is time to start building around him. And you look at last season, extremely impressive down the stretch. And there are still some holes in this roster, but this team is going to be better in 2023. And you know they can get better in the NFL draft. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to you guys. This is one of the most fun parts of the year. We obviously talk a lot of college football. We evaluate prospects, but trying to find position fits in the NFL draft for NFL teams is a blast. And the support you guys have shown during draft season absolutely is awesome. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, Jags fans, let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section. We appreciate that. That is why I like doing these videos, talking with the fans in the comment section. Let's get into this. And what you're looking at here, and we're going to start this draft up. The Jaguars not used to picking 24 overall, but this is a very good team that in my opinion, there are a lot of very, very good players that are going to be available at pick 24. You look at some of the positions that I think the Jaguars could be looking at. I think cornerback probably makes the most sense at pick 24, just because, for one, I love this cornerback class, and I want to talk a little bit about some of these guys. I think Keely Ringo would be a very interesting get. Joey Porter Jr., though, he's my cornerback too. And again, you have a guy in Tyson Campbell on one side of the field that is locked down. I think Joey Porter Jr. could be another young stud. He's probably going to grade out as a top 20 player on my board. You get him at 24. But for Jaguars fans, there's going to be so many good cornerbacks during this selection. Again, Joey Porter Jr., Keely Ringo, Emmanuel Forbes is another guy that I really like, and even Eli Ricks. We're going to go Joey Porter Jr. Cam Smith, if you guys follow a cornerback rankings, we're coming out with those in a week or two. Cam Smith, not as high on my board as many others. Joey Porter Jr., though, is one of my favorite dudes in the class. And again, the Jaguars are going to have a selection at cornerback at that 24 overall pick that is going to be worth it. There are a lot of very, very talented dudes. And pick 56, and I don't want to go right to, wow, Darnell Washington would be just an absolute blast to see on this team. And again, Evan Ingram has supplied the Jaguars with a very good gap tight end. Darnell Washington, I think, can be different. Now, what do you get with Darnell Washington? He is 6'7", 275 pounds. Back-to-back years of 400 yards. He hasn't been the best pass catcher out of this tight end group. Again, you'd probably lean Michael Mayer there. That being said, what Darnell Washington can bring to an NFL offense, I think he has some first-round traits to him. Again, when you put him on the field, he's a sixth offensive lineman. He is an absolute hammer in the run game. And when you look at ETN, like the Jaguars started running the ball extremely well down the stretch. Darnell Washington is not only going to help the run game, but when you get into the red zone, having a guy who is that big of a body, who has that big of a catch radius, NFL teams are looking to score 7 in the red zone. Gone are the days where field goals are wins on drives, especially for the Jaguars. You got to score 7 points. And Darnell Washington's a guy, when you get into those tight windows, he's going to offer so much value in terms of scoring touchdowns. I hate to go with the highest ranked guy on PFF's board right now, but Darnell Washington, in my mind, it might end up as a top 32 prospect on my board. If he does fall into the second round because teams are concerned with his pass catching ability, I think you pounce on that. Because again, you look at him in college playing opposite side of Brock Bowers. He didn't get a ton of opportunity to be a featured pass catcher in that offense. I don't think that means he can't do that. Now, taking a look at pick 88, this is where you kind of start looking at where are some gaps in the depth that we need. I would take a look at wide receiver, see what's available. And again, you have Calvin Ridley coming back. I love A.T. Perry so much. You get Darnell Washington and A.T. Perry. That would be a very, very nice fit. And again, A.T. Perry is a guy 6'5". He's caught over 30 touchdowns the last 2 seasons at Wake Forest. He would be a really interesting get. I want to take a look at the interior offensive line group because there are some. Andrew Voorhees is another guy that I like. He has that center guard versatility. Joe Tippmann's another guy. He can even play tackle. I wouldn't. Andrew Voorhees is going to be an absolute hammer in the run game. I want to get A.T. Perry, though. I think, again, when you have a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I think it's so important to start building around him. And A.T. Perry's a guy, for me, I'm personally much higher on than the rest of the draft community. And I think he balances out kind of what the Jacksonville Jaguars bring. You have a guy like Christian Kirk, who's a little bit smaller and more of a guy who can create separation. Let's get a guy who can go score in the red zone. And now you have Darnell Washington, A.T. Perry, two massive, massive targets that are going to help you score touchdowns when you get inside that top 20, and giving Trevor Lawrence two more invaluable weapons on that offensive side of the ball. Pick 127. Now you're starting to get to like what are some of your personal favorites? Oh, we gotta go Olu. Big Olu Timmy, I think should be a day 2 pick easily. If you look at his film at Michigan, absolute road grader in the run game, especially with what Jacksonville wants to do, which is get active with those offensive linemen. They want athletic offensive linemen who can move in space and pull. Olu Timmy from Michigan can do that, and he's been doing it for a very long time. He's a guy that may not have the highest ceiling, but I think he has a very high floor and will be a very good interior offensive lineman at the next level. Pick 160, Jacksonville. I want to take a look maybe at the defensive line and just trying to balance out this roster again. I really like where this team is, and you take a look at the depth chart. Where are some holes that we can kind of? This is when you're in round 5, you're just trying to add some good players who can provide some depth, as opposed to you're looking for starters. I think there are some starting caliber players at this pick, but I'm not necessarily looking for starters. I'm looking for to fill in this roster and get solid football players. Want to take a look at the defensive line, because again, when you are getting to this round, like this is where some hidden gems are. I'm not wowed by the interior defensive lineman. Let's see if we can find like maybe an edge rusher 3-tech kind of guy. Dylan Horton's would be a nice pick. I think it's a little early for him. Let's go back to the big board. This is where I need the Jacksonville Jaguars fans to be like, what position groups are you guys kind of thinking late round that you could add some depth to? I like looking linebacker late in these picks. I think there's always some really good linebackers, but Chad Moma, Devin Lloyd, those guys are both really, really good. I'm not necessarily trying to reach on a position you don't need. All right, we're gonna go on the defensive line, because I think that's where the best prospects are at this time. And we're gonna go not interior. We're gonna go get Dylan Horton, who is a guy that can play inside, can play outside at TCU, and he just has a motor. Dylan Horton's not necessarily the highest athletic traits guy, but when you turn on the film of Dylan Horton, he's one of my personal favorites. One, lights up the stat sheet just because he's a hustler. Like, this dude just plays with his hair on fire every single snap, and he provides you some of that versatility. Jacksonville Jaguars like to play with an odd front a lot. Having Dylan Horton, who gives you a lot of different options of where to put him on the offensive line, I think makes a lot of sense here. Pick 200. Now, Ricky Stromberg here at Arkansas, hindsight 2020, maybe you pass on Olu there and go get Ricky Stromberg if he's available this late, because Ricky Stromberg's really, really good center from Arkansas. You're looking here. Bryce Ford Wheaton's kind of a guy who I'm interested in. Warren McClendon's another guy. Let's take a look at those tackles, because there are some good offensive tackles late in this round. Carter Warren's another guy that I like a lot. Wanya Morris is a guy I like a lot. I'll go get Warren McClendon. He's played right tackle for Georgia for 2 straight years. He's played really, really well. Let's go get Warren McClendon. He's one of those guys that just has a really, really high floor, like 2-time national champion right tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs. He's solid in pass pro. He's solid in the run game. Again, not a guy that has the highest ceiling ever. Like, is he going to be an all-pro tackle? No, but in terms of getting a guy that you can trust if you need to throw him in there as a depth piece, I really do like that, especially when you can get him late in the round. Take a look how PFF grades us out here. And again, I think this was a pretty successful draft, and there's not a lot of wrong picks you can make for the Jags because they need a lot of help. Joey Porter Jr., I think, would be an absolute steal at pick 24. Some other guys to keep your eye on. Christian Gonzalez, I think he'll probably go before pick 24, but Joey Porter, I like Garrett Williams from Syracuse. I love Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. There are some really good cornerbacks that will be available at pick 24. And I said it, I'll probably have 6 cornerbacks that are graded out in the top 32. Like, there will be a guy at 24 that I absolutely love at cornerback for the Jaguars, especially when you look at like another high value position like wide receiver. is probably not going to be a wide receiver that I absolutely love at 24 if Quentin Johnson and Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith-Njigba are off the board. Darnell Washington, pick 56. Again, this would be a really fun one, and I think whatever team gets Darnell Washington has a potentially diamond in the rough on their hands. But he's not a guy that necessarily wowed you in college, but when you take a look at him and how athletic and his movement skills for his size, coupled with his ability to absolutely have explosive impact in the run game, when you have a tight end who can legitimately be a sixth offensive lineman, but also run routes and be productive in the passing game, I think that provides a lot of value. A.T. Perry was an interesting pick. I'm just higher on him than most other people. But again, when you look at the wide receiver room for the Jaguars, I think A.T. Perry is a guy that provides you a little bit more value because you don't really have a guy who's 6'5" and who can go up and win those contested catches. A.T. Perry is that guy, and he's done it for a while. Olu Oluwatimi from Michigan, obviously a Michigan fan. I love him. I think he's going to be a very solid center at the next level. And you look at Luke Fortner, I just have questions about Luke Fortner's ability to match up athletically on the interior offensive line. So I think Olu would be a guy to at least push Luke Fortner in that sense. Dylan Horton, he's a guy that, again, PFF doesn't necessarily like him because he's not the traitsy guy, but he's going to come in and play extremely hard and give you some of that versatility on where you can play him on the defensive line. And then Warren McClendon, round 6, 200 overall, you get a very, very good offensive tackle who has played really good football in the SEC for a very long time, and you have to absolutely love that. That'll do it. Again, only 6 picks for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but not a lot of holes in this roster. Like, this is a young team that really is only going to be getting better heading into 2023. Appreciate you guys for checking us out again. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. The support you guys have shown truly means a lot. We'll talk to y'all later.